All roads lead to Eugene, Oregon. It is that magical time of the year again when the nation's best athletes make their way to Hayward Field to get a shot at athletics immortality. It has been quite the year for track and field. New faces are emerging as global threats for the podium, new leagues are being pushed forward left and right, and returning Olympic champions are looking to defend their thrones. 2025 has been kind of weird, honestly. Multiple key competitions in the U.S. have been canceled, Grand Slam has had its ups and downs, Fred Kerley got arrested, twice, the 800 has been crazy, trackflation is pushing a few high schoolers into the conversation as potential world qualifiers, and one of the greatest world records that anyone has ever seen has now been met with a positive doping test. But I mean, a lot of people saw this coming, so I guess this wasn't really a surprise. The post-Olympic year in track and field always results in some kind of athletics hangover. Some athletes just aren't able to put it together for one reason or another. However, as athletics fans, we remain optimistic and hopeful for performances to come. And that brings us to the United States National Championships for 2025, a competition that features many names that will certainly mount the podium. And the odds are, we are seeing future world champions over the next few days. To kick things off, Thursday's coverage has many big names making their first appearances in this year's Nationals. In the women's 100, we have Sha'Carri Richardson, Melissa Jefferson, Gabby Thomas, Aaliyah Hobbs, Tamari Davis, Jacia Sears, Jamesia Ford, and many others. Now notably, for Sha'Carri's race, which is the first of all of the women's 100 qualification races, she actually has the slowest season's best out of anyone, and I will admit, I am still not convinced she is going to make it to the starting line. But either way, she does have a bye, as she is the defending world champ from 2023. But if she does decide to start here, make sure to have your eyes on Richardson, because we could get a preview as to how her progression has been over the past few weeks, and hopefully she is rounding into form as the days go on. But really, the story in the women's 100 is 100% Melissa Jefferson. She has not lost a single 100 in 2025. She took down last year's Olympic champion, Julian Alfred, in this year's pre-classic. And if you're looking at wind-adjusted marks, she is reaching some crazy quick times, as these marks go well under 10.7. And if the wind is right, I would not be surprised if she goes under 10.7 in this year's Nationals with legal wind, which would make her one of the very few to ever do this. I am very curious as to what you think will happen in this women's 100, so leave your predictions for your top 3 picks, and do not be shy to leave some hot takes. Over in the men's 100, the prelims start tomorrow as well, and notably, Fred Kerley has dropped out of this year's Nationals, putting forth a fairly cryptic message per usual on Twitter. But in terms of the men's 100, I am incredibly excited to see Noah Lyles race against Kenny Bednarek. We all know that Kenny's been killing it this year in Grand Slam. The man's taken down almost everyone that you could beat on the big stage. But he still has yet to race Noah Lyles this season. For Bednarek's 2025, his season's best are just faster and more consistent in both the 100 and in the 200. However, Noah has only raced one 100 and a single 200, so it's still uncertain as to exactly where he's at right now. But in terms of reaching fast times at the right moments, Noah has become known for his timely peaking abilities. I swear, every time that someone claims they're going to beat Noah Lyles, he just comes right back and takes them down, even if it's by the smallest margins imaginable. Noah's head game is just through the roof. No matter how much noise there is, no matter what is being said, Lyles possesses this rare and elusive ability to turn all of the surrounding noise into fuel. Remember last year when many thought Kashane was set to become the gold medalist? Well, Lyles just held his form better, both mentally and physically. But for 2025 in Eugene, Oregon, what exactly should we expect from Bednarek? He's been around for almost as long as Noah. He took the silver in 2021, he took the silver in 2022 when Lyles broke the American record in 19.31, and he took the silver in last year's Olympics as well, running yet another sub 19.7. Kenny's consistency honestly places him as one of the best 200 runners of all time. But in terms of the 100, Bednarek is on record saying he wants the gold medal from this year's World Championships. And again, given that he has taken down Oblique Seville, Kerley, Akeem Blake, Zarnell Hughes, and Andre DeGrasse, it might be his time to push forward with a national championship, perhaps in the 100 and perhaps in the 200. It has officially been 2 months since Bednarek has raced as well. He was supposed to run in the pre-classic against Tabojo over the 200, but unfortunately he had to withdraw because of injury. But there is ample reason to believe that Bednarek is itching to get back on the track and finally prove himself against the world. And given his progression, it would not surprise me at all to see him throw down something insane. Next is the men's 1500, set to kick off this Thursday, with the final taking place on Saturday. And this event is looking stacked beyond belief. Take a guess at how many athletes have broken 337 in the U.S. alone in 2025. Maybe 20? 25? Well, the answer is 51.
Bruh.
You want to talk about a saturated market? Well, this is it. From college talents to new names to seasoned veterans, the men's 1500 is sure to bring some fire racing, and rest assured that many will be putting 110% effort into the qualifying rounds. However, there are still a few favorites to take this title. Namely, the 2024 Olympic champion, Cole Hawker, there's Hobbs Kessler, who is always consistent, and we also have to mention Yared Nuguse, last year's bronze medalist in the Olympic Games as well. Now, notably, Josh Hoey is the only American in 2025 that has run under 330. However, he is selected to solely focus on the 800, which makes sense, as he was this year's World Indoor Champ, and he's dropped his 800 PB to 142.01. But back to the 1500. I feel like this kind of quality field is going to result in at least one big upset, meaning that compared to last year's Olympic team in the 15, which included Hawker, Nuguse, and Kessler, I would say at least one of these athletes is not going to make it to Tokyo. Now, I have no clue who that athlete will be, but at least for right now, I think Yared Nuguse and Cole Hawker have the best chances at making it. Not only has Nuguse run crazy fast, breaking a world record in 2025 in the indoor mile, but he was also right on the outdoor mile world record in this year's pre-classic, sticking stubbornly right next to the wave-light pacing, and even though he was on pace to run a 343, he unfortunately hit a pretty dense wall over the final 400 meters. And over these final stages, Niels Laros from the Netherlands made a massive comeback to win in 345 still. Nuguse has proven his abilities this season, and after taking the silver in the Indoor 3000 in 2024 and a bronze in Paris last season, he seems poised as one of the favorites. But we have to mention last year's Olympic champion, Cole Hawker, the man who is spending more hours on the bike right now than I can comprehend. But it is important to remember that he is an absolute beast, not just over his final 200 meters, but he ran a 7:23 for the Indoor 3000 this year, which was under the previous world record. However, Grant Fisher won that race in 7:22, setting the world record. So far in 2025, Cole Hawker has put together an incredibly solid season. He ran a 12:57 for the 5,000, he went 3:47 for the mile, and he achieved a new PB in the 800, running a 1:45. And he did this without pacing, as this time came from Grand Slam. If Hawker can time his season and put together that perfect 1500 like he did last season, he honestly could still come out on top, not just in the Nationals, but in the World Champs. It would take a very perfect race with solid running over the opening 3 laps, but it is possible. Now, the last event we're going to dive into here is the men's 10,000 meters. Now, this event currently features 17 athletes who are all looking to make their way onto the Tokyo team. But based on their times and their ridiculous kicks, you have to think that this race will come down to Grant Fisher clashing with Nico Young. Earlier this year, we got a glimpse at what Nico Young has been working on for the past 12 months, because at the Philadelphia Grand Slam meeting, he won in dramatic fashion, taking the men's 3,000 meters in a time of 8 minutes and 1 second, which is rather slow. But this man's final 200 were achieved in 25.62, and his final 100 was hit in 12.52 seconds. This is honestly one of the quickest final 200s that I have ever seen, and he took this new kicking ability to the Diamond League meeting in Oslo, Norway, where he unbelievably broke the outdoor American record in the 5,000, achieving a time of 12:45.27. Now, on the all-time performance list of the men's 5,000 for the Americans, Nico Young and Grant Fisher have all of the top 3 positions, so you know these two are in a class of their own. But following quite close in 4th and 5th is Graham Blanks, the Harvard graduate who has truly clutched up in 2025, achieving 2 sub-1250s, and he's quickly built a reputation not just as a meme, but as one of the fastest American distance runners ever. Odds are that this men's 10,000 will turn into a tactical affair, unless Grant or Nico or some other athlete decide to throw down incredibly speedy splits over the opening half, which would probably result in them blowing up over the second half. But the thing about the 10,000 is you have 25 laps to mull over your strategy, so perhaps someone will make a break early on. On paper, Grant Fisher just has to be the favorite. He's got the international medals to show for it, he was last year's bronze medalist, he's run a 26:33, and you have to remember, he outkicked Cole Hawker, a feat that should be padded at the very top of his resume whenever looking back at his running accomplishments. This men's 10,000 is going to be another solid race for the opening night at U.S. Nationals, so again, leave your predictions for this event as well. Now, one final note here, and that's that for this year's Nationals, coverage will unfortunately be fragmented from 2 separate streams. For Thursday and Friday, you can catch coverage on U.S.A. TF, and for Saturday and Sunday, it'll be streamed on NBC. Yes, this is the current status of one of the biggest meets in 2025. Thanks for watching, everyone, and as always, until next time.